So this would have been done automatically in nature by stepping on stones, stepping on branches, on any kind of uneven ground. There was a study done actually many years ago on how walking on cobblestones would affect the elderly, if their health would improve by doing this. And the control group was walking on flat surface, barefoot. And the elderly people had to come several times a week and walk on cobblestones. And what they noticed after several weeks of doing this is that their blood pressure had improved, that they would get up from a chair faster, that they could bend more. So clearly the study proves that there is a self-regulating system of health that comes from the feet and comes from the movement between the bones. So this is key. This is key, and I always say in my classes, if you remember only one thing from my classes, that remember that there needs to be movement between the bones. They need to retain their independence. They need to be able to work together, but each retain their independence and their multi-directionality. So in order to access the whole body and redistribute the forces as homogeneously as possible within the fibrillar network, we need to give back movement, all the angles that are possible for each bone with respect to all the other bones. We need to give that, and for that we need sometimes to loosen up the tissue inside the bone, around the bone, or between the bone and the skin, whether it be superficial fascia or deep fascia. Fascia is not so much about the type of fascia, it's more a bit about the depth of fascia, or it's about the hierarchy of fascia. Hierarchy in fascia becomes obvious when you touch it a lot and you interact with it a lot, and it guides you. So at the point where I am now, observing, palpating, interacting, I have the impression that the periosteum is probably the most important fascia, and there's a lot of information. Well, there's a lot of information. There's enough information to substantiate the importance of the periosteum within the hierarchy of fascia, and we'll go over that in class. So basically, what we need to remember is that we have enough information to understand that there is a self-regulating system in the extremities, that this makes a lot of sense in a gravity environment, that we're going to find all the information of the body in the extremities. We need techniques to access that information and to correct the situation. We have access to the global posture pattern and the global pathological pattern of that person, and that by redistributing the forces, we could really change things. So what we observe with the techniques that I've developed is that the body responds in most cases immediately. Some only very few cases take a long time to be willing to change the global pattern. There have to be either a lot of external factors, like some people take 18 medicines a day, and maybe they have no choice. I don't know. I'm not a pharmacist, and I'm not a doctor, so it's not my place to discuss that. But it has effects on the fascia itself. Some medicines, we know, they affect the quality of the collagen, and this, changes how the body receives the treatment. But in a body that's relatively healthy, it can have a pathology, it can have pain, because if the fibrillar network has forces concentrating in one part, that would be like this. Then here we would have an adhesion. We would have fascia that is stuck, that doesn't glide, that doesn't slide. If that would happen, then the forces concentrate in that area that is injured, that is in pain, and throughout the fibers of fascia, there are thousands and thousands of nerve endings, and they get trapped. So the information doesn't go well in that area. It doesn't arrive properly in that area. There's a lack of information. There's insufficient nervous information going to that area. Nerve entrapment is the first problem. The second problem is blood flow. You have tiny, tiny little vessels everywhere going through fascia. The same thing if there's an entrapment, if there's a concentration of forces in any part of the body, which could be caused by a surgery, an injury, a posture, a repeated posture, a repeated sport, emotions. There are many things that can provoke this. If you had that, then you would have insufficient blood flow to the area. So those things redistributing the forces, which is opening up the fibrillar network as much as possible for that body, because some things, well, they're more difficult because they're very old or they're very stuck. But there's always room for improvement. If you have a person in a lot of pain and you reduce their pain by 10, 20, 30%, you're already doing something fantastic for that person. But the truth is that, surprisingly, from the extremities, or unsurprisingly, if we understand better the physics and the properties of the tissue, we can really do something amazing. The body responds amazingly to loosening up the tissue from the extremities, giving back movement to the feet, making sure that the feet or the hands or the lower legs or the lower arms, we'll talk more about that, why that separation in class. Looking at what's going on with the periostea, see if that subperiosteal hydraulic system can flow, or in some parts it is stuck, and if that's having an influence on maybe movement limitations, more upwards in the body. And there's a feedback loop between what goes on in the body that goes to the feet, what goes on in the feet that changes our posture and changes the position of our head and all that, which is the counterweight for everything that we do. So if we start being more limited in the body in order to avoid pain, that's going to go back to the feet, which are going to be more stuck. So we need to reverse that loop, and we need to in the end, it's very simple. It's redistributing the forces. Then there are liquids in the body, and the liquids interact with the fibrillar network, and that's a very complex system, which we're barely beginning to understand, even in the forefront of the fascia research. So I'll tell you in class what we know, or what we think we know, and we'll try to work with what we know. That's what I told you. This is exciting because we're discovering new things, and the research goes at the pace that it goes, and you have some really intelligent people in the research world bringing us this fantastic information and some fantastic images of living fascia, which I will show you in class. And what we'll do is have a few hours of theory, of great footage, so that you really understand what you're touching, you really understand its properties, its capabilities, the capability of the therapist to act upon it, and how the laws of physics interact with all this. I'm gonna start myself quantum physics classes soon, so that I understand a bit better what is going on at the subatomic level, and see how far it goes, and what conclusions we could draw on the body and on the techniques. And maybe I can improve some techniques or create new ones from what I learned. Maybe not, I don't know, but I feel like I need to know, and I need to go there, and I need to find out more myself. I don't have the patience to wait for others to figure it out. So that's me. And then the course is going to be extremely practical. Okay. What I want you to get out of the course is be really, really good with your hands. Be very sure of what you're doing. And at first, I'm teaching you a lot of material. No one can absorb all of it, but I want you to, like the fascia, have the total picture. I think we function better when we have the total picture, even though we can't do everything well at the beginning in the total picture. And then my advice is to do the course twice and then pass the exam. And then I will give you a little piece of paper that says diploma on it. But I believe repetition is key. Fascia is complex, and interacting at very, very tiny levels with fascia, because in between the toes, for instance, it's very different whether you're working right under the skin or you're working at the periosteum. Or you could work even inside the bone, acting upon the fascia inside the bone if you've had a broken toe, something like that. So those are nuances that are not easy to get day one. And that's why I recommend repetition. You can follow my advice or not. But I've been doing this for a long time. I've been training people for a long time. And the people who keep coming and train with me have become, I think, even better therapists than myself, which is very gratifying for a teacher and a therapist and creator of techniques to see others take my creations and take it further. I mean, that's the whole point. Anyway, I'll see you in class, and I look forward to it. It's going to be fun, and I think you're really going to enjoy the techniques, the things you're going to feel in the body of the other therapists who are in class. I think you're really going to enjoy new sensations that you've never felt before, and you're going to enjoy the results on yourself and on your clients. Anyway, I'll see you in London. I'll see you in Northern Ireland. I'm really looking forward to it. And until then, have a great Christmas, a great New Year, and hope the weather is not too bad. Here in Spain, we have a bit of rain, but we can never complain too much because in the end, it's always sunny. So, bye-bye.